everyone, welcome. My name is Billy. Today I would like to share with you a sew-along of a wool dress that I made using this Carolina Herrera wool fabric, sort of a lightweight coating or lightweight jacketing material using the New Look pattern 6176. The dress itself is not lined other than the sleeves, and also I finished instead of using the same fabric for facing, I also used China silk as my facing. So here is a picture of how I laid out the pattern pieces when I cut the fabric. The fabric itself is 61 inches wide, and I folded in half lengthwise with the wrong side facing out. And the folded side is on the right side of your screen. And so then I went ahead and cut it out, and I put a pin on the wrong side of the fabric. And this helps me identify which side is the wrong side, because sometimes the fabrics, the right side, the wrong side are somewhat similar, and I want to make sure if I'm wrong, I'm consistently wrong. Then after I cut out the fabrics, I then proceeded to the pockets. Here is a picture of how I cut out the pocket pieces. The exterior pocket pieces are cut according to the pattern piece, and for the lining portion, I cut it around just about 1/4 of an inch smaller on the curved sides, and it's a little difficult to see, but there I put a pin on the exterior fabric to indicate where I will fold that little piece over when I sewed up the pockets. And so the lining piece also sits about 1/4 of an inch below that fold line. I then sewed around the curved edges of the pocket pieces, right sides together, and as you can see from the picture, after I sewed it up, the exterior fabric kind of bows towards the lining, and that's exactly what you want, because after you turn it over, the exterior fabric will naturally cover more than the lining fabric, and therefore when you sew it up right side out, you will not see the lining fabric. Next picture is what it looks like after I turn it inside out and then fold it over the outer fabric piece and sewed it across, and so now the pocket pieces are ready. Here's a picture of where I laid out the pattern piece on top of the right side of the dress front piece. And then because it's a little difficult to mark this fabric with my chalk pen, I pinned the sort of the two starting point of the pockets with red pin to help me pinpoint the pockets. The next picture shows where I pinned the pocket pieces, and then once I was happy with the positions in relation to the dress front, and then I went ahead and then sewed around the pockets to the front of the dress, leaving the top portion unsewn, and then also reinforcing the sides to make sure that the pocket would not come undone. I then went ahead and sewed up the front darts of the dress, and also serged or overlocked the sides of the front piece. I then went ahead and sewed the back darts of the dresses. And after I sewed it up, I realized that one side was a bit shorter than the other, so I went back and evened out the darts. I then sewed up, connected the front dress piece to the two back pieces by sewing together the sides, right sides together, and then went ahead and serged the sides. And so here's a picture of the dress up to this point, And then, so as you can see, I sewed up the front darts, the 2 pockets, and also the 2 back darts. Then it was time to sew together the neckband to the dress. And so what I did was I lined up the neckband and the dress front right sides together, and lined up the center part. And as you can see from the picture, the neckband faces downward while the dress, shoulder faces northward. Then I sew from the center point towards the one shoulder. Then I came back and sew the other side also from the center point towards the shoulder. I then did the same thing for the back neckband. So the picture here shows you how I did it. So I also lined up the neckband to the center back of the dress back. And as you can see, if the neckband piece faces downward, and then I sewed from the center back where you will put the zipper towards your shoulder, and I repeated for the other side. And so here's a picture of the dress after I've inserted the neckbands both in the front and the back. I then went ahead and inserted the invisible zipper to the back of the dress, and I then finish up the remaining portion of the center back. Then I move on to the sleeves. So then I went ahead and sewed the sleeves, connecting both straight sides together, right sides together, and then turn them right side out. I then sew the lining for the sleeves, and for the lining I actually cut them just about an inch shorter, shorter than the exterior fabric. And then I also did the same thing, sewing up the lining fabric. So after I sewed up the sleeves, I then placed the lining around or outside the sleeve. So then they will be facing right sides together, and then I sewed around the bottom portion to connect the lining to the outer fabric. And as you can see, because the lining is shorter than the exterior fabric, so after you sew it up, it will look like this. And then I went ahead and turned it around to turn around the lining, and so this picture shows that process. Then after that, and then I stuff the lining into the sleeves, and then I line up the outer edges, the top portion, so the sleeve head portion of the lining and the exterior fabric, and then pin them together. I then sew a basting stitch to secure the lining to the exterior fabric. As you can see, this method gives me a really clean finish because there is no visible stitching on the exterior sleeves whatsoever, so it really looks very professional. Then I went ahead and attached the sleeves to the bodice. And then I hemmed up the skirt portion using 2 inches, and then so here's a picture of using the blind hem foot of my sewing machine. And if you happen to have a Brother sewing machine, I use a setting number 10, and the stitch length is 3, and I move the needle position to -3, so that would ensure that I catch the skirt portion when I do the blind hem. The final step of the dress construction is inserting the facing, and because this wool fabric is relatively thick, I decided to use China silk for the facing, in a way also kind of to match the sleeve lining. And so I cut up 2 sets of the facing, and then I sewed up the front piece to the back pieces, and then make 2 sets of this, and then connect the 2 sets right sides together and sew around the outer edge of of the facing. And so this picture shows that after I sewn together the outer edge of the facing. And then I turned it right side out, and then again sew together using a long basting stitch the interior side, the inner circle of the facing. I then added the facing to the dress, also right sides together, and sewed it around as you normally would, connecting the facing. After I turned it over and then clipped the curve so it would sit flat, I then sewed it in the ditch along the neckband here, and therefore securing the facing to the dress itself, so the facing will not be moving around when I wear it. And the reason I did not line the entire dress is because I will be wearing this dress, wearing the silk slip that I made using the New Look pattern 6000, previously talked about in a video, and I will also link that video below for your reference. Here are a couple pictures showing the interior of the finished dress. The first picture shows the front of the dress, and as you can see, only the sleeves are lined, and that because I used matching fabric for the lining and the facing, the interior actually looks quite finished. The second picture shows the back of the dress, so you can see the zipper, the sleeves, and the facing, etc. And so even though this dress is not lined, the interior does look quite finished. So I'm very pleased with the result. So this is a very quick rundown of how I construct this garment, and I hope you have found it helpful. In the future, I hope to upload videos of a more in-depth nature to show you how I put in an invisible zipper, how I insert a sleeve, how I put in a facing, and how I test a new pattern for fit, etc. And so those will be in my future projects. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I hope I will see you soon. Bye bye!